All right, welcome to another episode of The Property Prescription. Today we've got a really special guest, Mike, who is our famous podcaster. So, you're running all of our media. And Joel as well, who does all the filming. So, Joel, thank you very much.
It's good to be here, Phil, because, I do use our podcasting sessions as an excuse to pick your brain about all housing-related issues. And, you know everything about the market, so it's very, very great speaking to you.
Yeah, so shameless plug. Tell us about your business and how long you've been around for.
Yeah, so Podcast Mike Media, we do corporate and business-related video and audio content, end-to-end production. So if you want a podcast or if you just want any video content produced, we can look after the whole thing for you. Been around for about 18 months now. Joel is sort of my first staff member, who is amazing and probably better than me, to be honest. So,
building the empire. But look, our experience with you is, both of you has been fantastic. So
thanks so much.
Thanks very much.
Likewise.
But we had a conversation just before we started this with Saskia, and just take us through in terms of some of the discussion we had. So
we bought. My partner and I bought our first property in sort of inner city Melbourne, looking to sort of start a family soon. And within about 3 months of moving, we had a middle of the night incident in which a car ploughed through our front fence and collided with the brick veneer at the front of the house, which was obviously traumatic for us and particularly my partner. I think she's taken it pretty hard. But I think we're now dealing with a lot of the stress of managing that from both an insurance perspective and also some other developments from a local council perspective, which has been tricky.
Yeah, it's been a really it was just a really interesting conversation. So a lot of our property managers go through the same thing with our doctors.
Yep.
And they're managing all these different types of affairs. So this is a real life case study I'd like to dissect.
Beautiful, yeah.
Let's go through it. Let's go through some of your frustrations.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start from the top. So you had a car go through the front fence.
Correct. And I think so. Context required here is the house that we've bought is on a main road. We're also on the corner of a main road and a side street. So we kind of have this double whammy of council regulations that need to be followed, which I totally respect, by the way. But one of the things we'd like to do, because the existing fence is relatively small, it's about 90 centimetres high.
90, yep.
Yeah, and it's never really been touched since, it's been owned by the same owner before us for I think about 20 years or 25 years. So no one's ever done work to it. There was a tenant in there before us. We want to make that fence higher for safety, security, privacy, etc.
How high? How high would you like it?
I would love to have it at about 1.8, which is the same as our neighbour's fence.
Yes.
That's the ideal. I probably would be pretty happy with a 1.5 though.
Yep.
But because of these regulations around main road and corner block, we need special council permission to build that fence. So something that felt relatively simple to me and my partner has now become
a big issue,
a bit of a headache. And I want to stress, I completely understand council has these rules and processes they have to follow. But as someone who thought, I'm buying my first house, this is going to be awesome, we're going to start a family here, it's just become a lot of additional stress for me.
Within the first 6 or 12 months, you've gone through this. So we've talked about you buying your first house, getting into the market. So if you're a doctor and you've bought your first house, the experience that it sounds quite traumatic.
Definitely.
And dealing with the insurer, just take us through that in terms of what they asked you to do.
The insurance has been tough. It just, I won't say who it is, but a lot of miscommunication and things getting lost. And, we have a camera out the front of the house. That was one of the first things we did. And we sent literally videos of this car coming in and crashing into the house. But we sent that to the insurance, saying this is the evidence, but it all got lost. And then they came back and said, well, we didn't see tyre marks on your lawn, so we don't think that a car did hit the front of your house. And I said, well, I've sent you photos of that, so I'm not sure where this miscommunication has happened.
Did you take a photo of the car as well?
I got everything. The license of the guy, like the guy who hit the house was actually quite cooperative.
Yeah, good on him.
Thankfully. Yeah. But I had all the information, so I kind of thought it would be a very quick, easy process. But we're probably, I think this happened in February.
I remember.
At time of recording, it's end of May. So what's that? March, April. It's 3 or 4 months since it happened. We still don't have a fence.
So you don't have a fence at the moment.
Yeah. Well, we have some fence, but then we have a temporary gated metal. Yeah.
And you're not going for a lot, but just talk about so council have now engaged an engineer.
Yes, I believe so.
Now, have you written a really sort of heartfelt, teary letter to council? What did you do?
Yeah. So that's something you have advised me to do. But essentially what I did was just explain what happened, say this is why we want a higher fence, we think it'll contribute to our safety and privacy, but I didn't get too much into other details. Then I was told like, well, you need to have like a site plan and you need to, because we're essentially applying for a building permit, which is something I thought was relatively excessive for just a fence. But again, I understand the council needs it. So I had to do some drawing, like I did it all myself. I did drawings, I took photos and then edited the photos to show what I wanted the fence to look like versus what it currently looks like, labeled all the heights, finally got that over to them and they said, yep, this is sufficient for us to now investigate further. So that's the point we're at now. I think that, like I said, the shock for me was, to me, it feels like this could happen in a day.
Correct.
But we're 4 months in and we're not really making much progress.
Just going through that headache, and a lot of property managers that are going through building insurance claims, sometimes it can take months, if not years, just to go through a very simple claim.
Yeah.
And if you're a doctor, you don't actually have time to go through this. You've got, this sounds very traumatic.
Yeah. And like doctor, and like, I guess I'm a professional too. Like I don't want to be spending my weekends drawing dodgy plans for my new fence. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I totally understand if you're a doctor who probably has a lot more stress on your plate than someone who makes videos and podcasts for a living. You definitely don't want to be doing this.
We see with a lot of our doctors, there's a lot of fence disputes, for example, and getting 50% paid from the neighbouring. Sometimes that neighbour doesn't want to pay the 50%.
Yeah, right.
And so where does that leave us? But just dealing with an engineer, dealing with council, going through that process and when do you think you're going to get an outcome?
If I could have an outcome by the end of winter, I'd be pretty happy, to be honest. But I'm curious, like in a situation where it's a boundary fence or like a neighbouring fence, and like you said, someone doesn't want to pay the 50%, how would you mitigate that?
Well, there are issues because occasionally fences are that old. There's a claim of adverse possession. So sometimes when a fence has been on a particular person's property, you might need to get that land component resurveyed, and sometimes there's some additional land on the neighbouring property, you can get some land back. It's a great way of potentially, not that I'm saying this is what you should do, but sometimes the fence lines are incorrect because it's been surveyed incorrectly or the title plans aren't matching up. So we've found when we've done that survey for some of our doctors that own these properties, we've actually been able to get more land. So what we do is we basically pay for the fence to go and do it, but it's really important that you get that site surveyed. So I'd much rather just resolve the issue for the doctor. We don't want to get into a 12 month dispute over $500, $1,000 on most cases. Now, what did the application cost you to submit to council?
Cost me $462,
wow.
I think, just for them to look at it.
Just to fill out the application form.
Just to fill out the application, which again, I get. Well, I don't know. I don't even know if I do get that, but I'm curious from your perspective, because we were talking off air about it. Like what, in my situation, what would you kind of advise or what would you encourage me to be doing?
Yeah, well, you could really take it, like you get serious, you'd actually engage a property lawyer. To go and look at the site. I think you'd probably get your own engineering advice as well. But a lot of first home buyers don't actually have access to that type of advice. Like I think if it was a rental property, you'd be getting great advice from one of our property managers.
Sure.
But if you're a first home buyer, there needs to be a better streamlined process of actually getting such a simple outcome where you've been wronged. You know, this is
That's how I feel
this
too.
is out of your, and this is your first property that you've purchased. So I'm proud of you for getting into the market.
Thank you.
But the issue is there needs to be a better system in terms of how we approach these, just I'd consider this a very minor issue that is very easy to resolve. But councils are taking a long, long time to get very simple decisions to be made.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit of a concern because some councils are better than others.
Yes.
To deal with, and we've had a lot of experience dealing with different councils across Australia. So I hope that you get someone within the office that looks at your case, plead, do whatever you can to try and get it through, but really creating that story, getting as much advice, seeing a lawyer, getting your own engineer, but do you want to go through that and getting a good PM and getting some external advice is the way to go.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So we'll end it there. Anything else so keep us updated. So we'll go through another couple of podcasts and we'll get an update in terms of where.
Well, hopefully by the next time we're recording, there is an outcome.
I'm going to keep you accountable to that.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Thanks,
Mike.
Phil.
Thanks for joining. Cheers.